Alright, after 5,000 tries, hopefully this will be it. This is the Whackin' Atheist Kent Hovind did on August 21st, 2024, regarding Alan Turing. Now, I've tried to do this multiple times, and the opening, the first 6 minutes or so, is a kind of meandering slog of Kent watching videos from popular science media on current AI tech and some, robotic science and stuff. It goes nowhere. Um, he does more of his usual meandering ramblings, a couple of his dumb jokes. The first 6 minutes, though, are truly just a slog, and I find them not even worth commenting on at this stage, because one, I've seen it so many times, and two, there's truly nothing of value there from his end or from my end to comment on. Do apologize if my voice sounds a little weaker than normal. I have been sick, usual sinus issues that result in, coughing and just a whole little mini flu, so to speak. Typical stuff for me. Recovering fine, no big issue. Just a little tired, and it's delayed this and other videos. But I enjoy doing this. I enjoy ripping into this fucking just scumbag from time to time, and you know. I do it for you, the people who enjoy these weird, long-form, meandering videos that some of us make. I want to point out right here that Kent happens to have his little Making Babies book or whatever setting here, which is, or whatever the hell this is, which is weird. Well, not really weird for Kent, given that we know he is absolutely obsessed with animal sex for some reason. He loves bringing up whale penises whenever he can, amongst other things. And also find it a little funny that he has seahorses on here, given that the male seahorse actually carries the developing children for a period. I don't know the exact technical terms on all the details, but, it's a commonly known thing about the male seahorse actually being the one that's quote-unquote pregnant for the time, to use simplified, terminology for it. So it's funny that someone who is so against any kind of what would be considered an abnormality in gender constructs, sexuality, and the like would depict on the cover of if there's this is their book or whatever the very oh yeah there we go, it is a book. Yeah, it says Dr. Kent Hovind down there, creation science, blah blah blah. That he would depict those particular creatures on the cover. Just seems weird to me. But he's just gotten done at this point, again, 6 minutes in. With a rant about, oh, you came from a dot that exploded and an amoeba of nothing, and the rocks, and somewhere a whale penis is involved, Hovind. See, he's doing his meandering shit. That's when we come in. He's already done his intro. Yeah, we get it. You're a right-wing nut job. Whoop-de-doo. Place your bets now if you think this goes into New World Order insanity, because the original 6 minutes was a focus on, who's heard of AI? Who's heard of Alan Turing? Let's watch some videos on AI. Pretty interesting world we live in, right? And normally, like I said, I would show all this, but there is truly nothing there of value, and it just drogs the whole thing down. And I want this to finally happen, because this has been honestly a tough one to make. And there's one point I really want to get at in here, and after that, it's all gravy. But I've got to at least address and point out one thing in here. And the completionist in me says that I don't need to address just that one thing, but I really should try to get through the whole video. So, enough of my rambling intro. Let's get going.
So who was Alan Turing, and what made him an atheist? He was an English mathematician, logician, and cryptographer. He was responsible for breaking the Nazi Enigma code machine during World War II. His work gave the Allies the edge they needed to win the war in Europe and led to the creation of the computer. Started the computer age. Interesting.
Yeah, because that's what people doing what you love to call real science, the actual real science, tend to do. When faced with a problem, they apply logic and solve the problem. They don't just go back to Bronze Age fables and say, well, this book says such and such, so that's got to be the way it is. No, he actually put his brain, to work and helped figure out how Enigma worked. And helped come up with, applying the same logic, helped come up with constructs that would become modern computer logic and there's the element of the Turing test and the like. So it branches out so far, and I'm sure that's where you're eventually getting to here. But just a simple, basic concept of, on-off logic scaled up a whole hell of a lot. He realized you could do a lot with that. And it's funny because it kind of matches biological complexity insofar as you can have something complex come from something very simple. Just as you scale and multiply things, you add this perceived complexity, this capability to it. It's fascinating stuff. But you can't appreciate humans applying knowledge. You just want to say Magical Sky Daddy did it.
Born 1912, died 1954. Only 42 years old. Alan
Only 42 years old. Let me suck in this big blob of snot. I mean, I'm recovering from sinus stuff, and I have enough consideration to mute myself before I have to take care of anything like that. God, you're an inconsiderate prick, Hovind. Also, I died at 42. Huh. Yeah, I wonder why. Could it have been because of extreme persecution? Because of factors that are completely irrelevant to anyone else's life? Because of bigotry and hatred? Bigotry and hatred that you support? Could be.
Matheson Turing was an English mathematician, computer scientist, philosopher, theoretical biologist. He was a highly influential in the development of theoretical computer science. Overlooked no more. Condemned code breaker. His ideas led to early versions of modern computing and helped win World War II. Yet he died as a criminal for his homosexuality. New Scientist magazine. Turing became interested in biology. 1952 published a paper detailing the math.
You ever notice that instead of just coming up with a concise summary of this stuff, as someone who claims to have taught for 15 years would be able to do readily, he has to read just random sources and what they have to say on any subject. He can never just condense things down and maybe provide citations or something. No, it's got to be this weird format, this weird presentation. It's kind of stuff that shows that he's a preacher first, and any kind of quote-unquote educator qualities he had are, if not non-existent, at the very best, secondary or tertiary.
Mathematics of how biological shapes and patterns develop. He believed in evolution strongly because of a book he read as a child. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And that made him think, wow, if our brain...
You believe in Christianity wrongly because of a book you read as a child. See how easy it is to just say that, Kent? And, you don't have a point there when you think you do, buddy. You just don't.
It's just a bunch of random collection of chemicals, got together by chance and random mutations. Maybe a machine can do what our brain does. Maybe a machine can think, solve problems.
No, that was not Turing's approach to things. He understood that simplistic processes can create complex processes. Things happen in stages, sequential stages that aggregate together, and he thought, maybe basic logic circuits could do the same thing. You could get complex logic that can't just add, subtract, or compare things. To get it to do multiplication, division, complex algorithms regularly and consistently. Potentially this could start simulating things in whatever capacity one might want to apply such logic. That would be my interpretation and the gist of what he was thinking, from my understanding, at this time, as I talk to you. I say talk to you, I talk to the audience, but I treat it as if I'm talking to you, Kent, because that's just the way these reactions kind of go. And I do this stuff, completely ad hoc. It's unplanned. I just go with the flow. I don't know where I'm going with that, but just a clarifier. I'll go with the flow. It's all mellow. If it's yellow, keep it mellow. If it's Hovind, flush it down, because Hovind's shit.
The same year, he was convicted for having a sexual relation with a man, actually with a very young man.
That right there. I had caught this live originally, just to check and see what the subject matter was. Happened to tune in right about here. Heard that. Pissed me right the fuck off. Because I'm like, I'd never heard anything of it being a, quote, young man, as in anything that would have been illegal in a relationship to participate in as far as our concept of sexual maturity and age of consent. And I have found no evidence whatsoever that this person, this relationship would have been violating that aspect of anything. Homosexuality laws at the time in Britain, that's, its own problem, which has sadly, but thankfully, after the fact, been rectified. But there's no evidence he was, as Kent is implying, a pedo or anything of the sort. So fuck you, Kent. This shit right here, these kinds of outright lies, this kind of demonstrably false shit you say, is the key thing, I think, why most people hate you. It isn't just how wrong you are, how much you lie about other stuff that isn't important, how stupid what you say is. It's that you will do this kind of stuff about people who are long dead, who have been thankfully pardoned for crimes that weren't truly crimes, that we know now weren't wrong. You still got to lie and say that they did something that we would find reprehensible, when it's just not true. Now, if I'm wrong, show me evidence. You have provided no evidence of this. You just said, actually, I was a young man, with the implication. Because we can read between the lines with you, Hovind. It's not hard to do. We know what you're trying to say. You're as predictable as a goddamn eclipse. Nowhere near as fun to look at, though. About as blindingly ugly. But that's just me being petty. Your spirit, the internal you, is ugly. Twisted and evil. But you think you're so good, so godly. You're a monster. Fuck you, Kent.
Which was illegal at the time. He was made to choose between going to jail or undergoing hormonal treatment intended to reduce his libido. He chose the latter. They injected him with estrogen.
In one of my original recordings, I actually had to double check that because it sounded weird to me. And no, that's apparently actually what they did. Which I'm like, okay. Don't quite see how that would help, but I'm a layperson in this regard, and this was also, like 60 years ago, so I don't really have commentary on there. It's just funny that Kent would bring it up.
He was found dead as a result of cyanide poisoning. Ate an apple laced with cyanide. They think it was intentional. They called it a suicide. Okay. Turing's law, 2017, legislation known informally as Turing's law, extended the pardon to all gay men convicted under such historical legislation.
Yep, because eventually they realized, you know what, being gay isn't a crime. We shouldn't punish people for a natural aspect of their biology that doesn't harm anyone. What two consenting adults do in their own privacy is nobody's business but their own. You can't understand that. You don't have a sense of privacy. You blurt everything about your life out on the internet as if everyone's supposed to pity poor old Hovind. Yeah, pity someone who body slams his wife. Pity someone who doesn't give a fuck that a kid drowns at his stupid theme park. Excuse me, had a drowning at his stupid theme park. Don't give a fuck about anything but yourself. But what other people do... No, you care about more than yourself. You care about what other people do in their own lives that doesn't affect you at all. Because you've got to be all up in everybody else's ass.
2019, he was announced as the face on the new 50-pound note. Go into circulation 2021. Alan Turing, 50 pounds British money is about $65 US.
Which is irrelevant to any of this, Kent. And anyone who's remotely educated would have a sense of scale for how much 50 pounds would be an equivalent US purchasing power. Also, I've got to say, that is a really, really nice looking unit of currency right there. Note. Note. Currency note. That's the words I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm still a little exhausted from being sick, so I'm meandering more than usual, but that's some fine looking currency right there. Wish I had 50 pounds.
Okay. He cracked the Enigma machine. At Bletchley Park, Alan Turing, Gordon Welchman, and Hugh Alexander, among others, worked on cracking the Enigma code. Turing's Bombay machine, designed to collaborate with Welchman and Alexander, was instrumental in deciphering the code.
Enigma being the cryptographic machine used by the Nazis during World War II. It was a mechanical cryptographic system using complex gears, various ciphers. Beautiful, beautiful device. A work of computational genius that took computational geniuses to decipher. But we did it. We were able to begin figuring it out. I forget the exact details on the story, but it's a fascinating piece of history, so definitely worth looking up. Way better than watching a Kent Hovind video. But, you know, I think just about anything's better than watching a Kent Hovind video. Unless, you know, you've got someone cool commenting over it, in which case, I don't know, go watch AJ's stuff. I kid. A little self-deprecating humor never hurt anybody. But yeah, the Enigma machine, fascinating stuff, fascinating story. World War II, just, there's always something new to learn, and it's amazing how relatively short of a time period it was, depending on which aspect you're looking at, and yet so much happened. So much progress, but so much horror. Let's continue with this horror, though.
Turing, biology, evolution, and artificial intelligence. Why would a renowned mathematician and computer scientist find himself drawn into the biosciences?
Because intelligent people tend to want to learn more things. You yourself claim to have taught biology, geology, and other sciences. Like, why didn't you just teach one or the other, or just stick to Bible stuff? Why would you go into the sciences if you did at all? Because you take interest in more things? I mean, that's me being generous to you, Kent, because obviously you just lie about this because the only thing you're focused on is your script that you've been refining for 40 years and are very upset that everybody has, you know, torn apart completely, but that's neither here nor there. People like to learn about different things, especially, you know, people who are already experts in a field are likely to want to apply their skills to a new challenge. That's just what people who like to learn do.
Well, see, he was convinced there's no God. Therefore, how did the brain evolve slowly, step by step? Therefore, how can a machine do this? Yeah.
Did Alan Turing say that, or is that just you saying what you think Alan Turing thought? Are you just making up shit again, Kent? Pretty sure you are.
In addition to the diverse reactions that attracted him to the field of pattern formation,
And that's not me messing up. That is legitimately how the video goes. They had an issue with their live stream at that point.
a major ulterior motive for his research had to do with a continuous subject, which astonishingly was still highly controversial in some countries today. In studying pattern formation, he was seeking to help invalidate the argument from design. Aha. See, today we argue if something.
Yeah, Kent. He realized that when you have simple processes that can scale up to become more complicated processes in the way like basic computer logic does, it's reasonable to apply that to natural constructs and see that, this naturally forming process can aggregate together and become more complex. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It just takes a genius to really hone the idea. But you go the complete opposite with it.
Something appears to be designed, maybe it's designed. Or maybe there's a God.
No, Kent. Once again, we contrast design things from natural things. And every example you ever bring up not only is not something that is organic, reproducing, alive, you know, as any of that, it's not a life form, doesn't, you know, replicate. You know, you bring up known artificial things, because bringing up something natural doesn't work, because in your worldview, everything is an artificial thing. It's the watch. You're just another version of the watchmaker argument. You find a watch on the beach, you know it was made by somebody, but yeah, the beach is nothing but watches, the ocean is nothing but watches, the sky is watches, everything's watches. How do you compare and contrast? You don't, yet you simultaneously do. So you defeat your own argument by the very point that you bring up that this thing was obviously made. It's like, yeah, in contrast to what? Stuff that we don't know is obviously made, but you just assert is.
You atheists today are still working hard to try to avoid the obvious. Look, somebody designed and made this pen. If you think nobody designed and made a brain cell that you have, if you have any, you really are insane.
Remember, this is a good godly man, this condescending piece of shit right here, who of course brings out the stupid pen in his pocket. Why does he even have the fucking pen? He probably doesn't write a goddamn thing down ever. Goes out on his things. Oh yes, the pen will make me look fancy on my. We're gonna take the wild tour. I'm gonna act like I take notes here, and I really draw a stick figure with boobs. Hovind.
But that's what one of Alan Turing's one of his goals in life was to figure out how we can make these things without a God. We don't want an intelligent designer.
Again, is that something he said, or just some words you're putting into his mouth? Remember, he's been gone for 60 years now, and you're just putting words in his mouth. One of the things he says when he talks about his Whack and Atheist series is that he's like, oh, when an atheist sticks their head up and says something stupid, we whack them down with sweetly and Christian love with real science. It's like, this man hasn't been alive for 6 decades, and you're basically trying to pick a fight with him? I mean, I'm surprised you haven't asked Turing to come from the dead and debate you. Which would be pretty fucking awesome, honestly. I'd love to see Alan Turing rip you a new one, but, that's not how the universe works. The man is sadly gone, and that's just how it is. And you, of course, want to belittle the contributions he made to humanity because he realized that your big book of fairy tales was a load of shit.
Turing was intent on demonstrating that the laws of physics are sufficient to explain the world. In other words, our findings do not need an omnipotent creator to explain them.
Again, not me. That's how his live stream actually was. And yeah, usually once people realize that a deity isn't necessary for the universe, tend to hone in on that.
It's ironic that Turing, whose work played a central role in laying the groundwork for creation of artificial intelligence, AI, took a clear stance against creationism. This is a testament to his acceptance of scientific evidence. No, it's not. Who wrote this article? Okay, Danny, call me 855 Big Dino. Schedule a debate. You're clueless, son. Okay.
First off, the fact he calls people son, that's just, you don't do that, Kent. This is more rude bullshit. But he's like random person who wrote an article that I decided to put into my slides. Let me, why don't you call and debate me? That's his go-to for everything. Debate me, bro. Debate me. I mean, when I say he's like the guy on the internet who's like, fight me in real life, bro, that's what he is. That's the only way he operates. And it always has to be a debate in exactly the format he wants it in, so he can just run his script and deny things, and that's it. To make himself look more important than he is. Remember, Kent, you're nothing. You're a cult leader in a backwater shithole in bumfuck Alabama, washed up preacher that other young earth creationists don't even like. The most value you have in your life at this stage is people like me ripping into you for comedy. That's it. And yeah, I know that sounds mean. I'm not a nice guy sometimes. But that's what it boils down to. You're pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But you want to talk shit about all these other people. All the time. Call 855 Big Dino to debate me. They have better things to do. Scratching their ass is a better thing to do than debate you. So nah, I don't think dude's going to call you, buddy. Nope. I sure as hell ain't. But by the way, you still haven't had your friend Sergio, or whoever, still hadn't tried to get in touch with me. Can they not figure out how to use the internet either? You barked orders at them to get in touch with this guy. Get in touch with Krishimoto. Still hadn't done it. I'm waiting. I should start a timer. How long it's been since Kent Hovind demanded his people contact me to debate me. And just let the timer run. In fact, I'll probably do that after I record this. Anyway, back to the video.
Science has nothing to do with evolution. Evolution is a religion, not scientific.
No, it's not.
Anyway, as testament to his acceptance of scientific evidence and rigorous research over weak analogy. It's not a weak analogy to say somebody designed the pen.
Yeah, it is, because again, you're comparing it to organic life that naturally reproduces, changes. They're not the same thing. The contrast does not work. Period. It's wrong. Stop saying it, Kent. It's fucking wrong.
Not a weak analogy to say somebody designed the universe. Okay, anyway. Unfortunately, those who did not and will not accept Darwinian natural selection, that's me, okay, as the mechanism for evolution, will not see anything compelling in Turing's work on morphogenesis. To those individuals, the development of AI can be taken as proof or a convincing analogy of the necessity and presence of a creator. Yeah, who is creating these computers?
Have you ever just seen a computer, just spawn, just and reproduce? Do computers breed, Kent? I mean, again, it doesn't work. You keep saying it does. It doesn't.
Are they creating themselves? And if you do succeed in making a computer that can create another computer, that still shows design.
Yeah, see, you admit your own, gotcha there, thus defeating the purpose of even engaging with the argument because you're going to be, disingenuous with it. And you got that shit-eating grin like, I just outsmarted you. No, you didn't, Kent. In fact, it's funny, you'll notice that we call it artificial intelligence because we're differentiating it from natural intelligence. See, in your evil worldview, you don't want nature to be glorified for being what it is, for being beautiful by and of itself. It has to have a designer because otherwise, you feel bad. You don't feel important in the universe. Again, see how easy it is to do, Kent?
How can they not get it? Like the one guy the other night commenting, how come you use analogies like a pen which can't reproduce? Adding the ability to reproduce makes it really more complicated.
Non sequitur? I mean, that doesn't go anywhere. We're not describing suddenly complexity of things, which again is some arbitrary word you just use to make things seem less likely. We're talking about comparing living organisms to non-living, known artificial things. It doesn't work, Kent. What part can't you get that doesn't work?
How can they not get it? Okay. However, what supports the intelligent design, supporters of the intelligent design do not acknowledge is that natural selection is itself precisely the cause underlying the development of both humanity and its AI progeny. No, it is not. Danny, you're lying or you're stupid. Okay? You can't see the obvious in front of you.
Kent, you're lying or you're stupid. You can't see the obvious that nature works just fine without magical Sky Daddy. Harvin?
Natural selection.
I just want to point out that you hear this man suck up more snot than a goddamn nasal vacuum in this video, and I'm congested right now. I'm getting over being sick, and I'm still considerate enough to have myself muted, especially when I'm having to take care of anything resulting from this illness, or the tail end of this. If he's not even considerate enough to be able to do that. He just snorts back right into the microphone.
Resulted in the phenomena, and Turing sought to model his work on morphogenesis. Anyway, read about all that some other time. Read the article for yourself. In addition to a jump in the degree of plasticity and its control, AI will constitute further step forward with regard to the speed at which beneficial information can be shared. This is the goal. Everybody can know what everybody else is thinking.
I mean, we pretty much already have that, pretty instantaneous communication via various services that are available globally has allowed us to do that. Now, processing complex, more complicated information from remote sources, which has always been what networked computing has been about, yeah, that's one of the aspects that's a goal of the broader scope of AI technology as it's being currently developed. What's your point?
Type in a question in your computer now. See how fast AI comes up with an answer.
It's actually pretty slow. Usually, it used to be a Google search would give you a good answer pretty quickly. Now it gives you 15 YouTube videos, a link to some scammer in the middle of fucking Punjabi somewhere, and a bunch of other bullshit. So, then the AI text eventually processes what you say. Maybe. Sometimes it's completely fucking confused.
It's nearly instantaneous, isn't it? Huh. What if everybody had a chip in their head that tied them into the computer?
Uh-oh. Are we getting into Mark of the Beast conspiracy theories? Are we going deep down the rabbit hole? Let's find out.
What is Sergio thinking right now? Came up blank.
Hey, you know what Sergio should be thinking? Boy, I really ought to contact that Chris guy that Kent told me to talk to like a couple of weeks ago. Still hadn't happened. Schedule a debate. Kent's gonna wonder why you hadn't heard back from him. Probably because I never contacted him to begin with. There's reasonable chance that had someone not even pointed out that he was mentioned in the video, that Chris guy would have never even known Kent acknowledged him. Because that's what would have happened. I never would have watched this Comments on Comments. That's one of his worst series. So I would have never known that he even, was aware of me and reacted to anything. So, still waiting on contact. That's my point. Go on, send the email. You know where to send it. I've told you before where to send it. Shouldn't be that hard to figure out how to get in touch with me. Give it a go, Kent. Sergio, who the hell ever from DAL. I'm waiting.
Okay, these adaptations show at a slow rate.
And also, yes, I'm not going to ignore the fact that he also insulted Sergio there by being like, nothing's going on in his head. That's all he can do. Talk shit about others. If you're going to insult people, insult yourself first. You got to be able to take your own hits before you lash out at others. But it's better to not even do the latter. It's better to not do it at all, but if you must, focus on yourself. Humble your own self. Piece of shit.
Advantageous evolutionary adaptations were spread through the population observed by Darwin over several generations. The rapidly increasing rates of communication in current society result in successful adaptations, which we call science and technology, being distributed at ever increasing speeds. I can find out what the weather is in China in about 3 seconds, can't I? 50 years ago, was that possible?
Yeah, we had international phone circuits. 50 years ago, we would have had satellites as well. Satellite communications. That was only 1974, Kent. Yeah, we totally knew what the weather was in, let's say, Beijing 50 years ago on a whim. Or with some minimal delay of maybe 15 minutes to 30 minutes. Plus, with predictive models, we can generally predict what the weather will be like, because, science. It works.
Oh, okay. This is, of course, the principal reason why information sharing is beneficial. It allows us to better adapt to reality and harness the environment. It seems reasonable to predict. Ultimately, the sharing of information in AI will be practically instantaneous.
I don't really see where that article was actually going, and it seems like something Hovind just kind of cherry-picked to, honestly, to just give him something to ramble on about. Because this seems very little focus on Turing and more on potential conspiracy theories on AI, like I'm waiting for the New World Order shit to get brought up. But here we go with some quotes from the Bubble.
In Daniel chapter 12,
Don't care.
at that time shall the Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. In my chart, which is right here, my timeline that I use on creation evolution.
I'm surprised that this isn't a slide that he just switches to in his presentations every time. Because you think this would be something that would work better as an actual slide rather than some stupid chart he has to hold up like he's teaching kindergarten in 1989.
The laminated one. It's here somewhere.
I gotta find my laminated one. Can't find it.
We sell this chart, part of my series on what on earth is about to happen. On the back, I give all the verses from Daniel and Matthew.
Note that he's apocalypse obsessed since he has his little word on earth is about to happen. It's gonna be the apocalypse anytime now. Jesus is coming. Just hang on. He's edging slowly. He really likes to work for the finish. 2,000 years he's been working on this. Let's just keep going, Howard.
Mark, and Luke that deal with end times. If you haven't seen my series, Whoa, What on Earth is About to Happen? You might want to get that.
I might not.
And here it is, the laminated one.
I found my laminated one. Okay, well, whatever.
So Daniel said, at the end of time.
I also found the DVD remote. Yay. Ooh, and my VHS tape of Backdoor Sluts 9. Good stuff. Hovind.
Somebody stand up. But thou, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the end of time. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
Oh no. Old Book of Bullshit seems scared that people might realize Old Book of Bullshit is Old Book of Bullshit. That's all I fucking hear from this.
2,600 years ago, God told Daniel to write this down, that at the end of time, knowledge shall be increased. Would everybody agree that knowledge?
Who the fuck is gonna pay $10 for a goddamn timeline in like a fucking JPEG? No, it's gonna be a fucking CompuServe GIF. It's gonna be, you know, have under construction on the side, and then be like 20 by 80 resolution. That's the image right there. That's the actual image you get. And it's like, here you go, just zoom in, make it bigger. Hovind.
Knowledge is being increased today. Now, knowledge is not wisdom. I've said it many times. Knowledge is knowing how to pick your nose. Wisdom is knowing when and where. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, real mature there, Kent. Wisdom is knowledge applied over experience. When you know things and have applied them in real life experience, the resulting information, the results of that application, of that experimentation, one could say, could be considered wisdom. That's the way I look at it. Technically speaking, you said that, but I said it much more eloquently. And I'm just a rambling idiot on the internet. I'm just laying back in my chair, wishing that I was doing anything other than making a damn Kent Hovind video. You get paid by people to do this shit. What's your excuse?
There's a difference, okay? Thus, in summary...
There's a difference, okay. Gonna pick a nose. Okay, Hovind, okay. Hovind. I'm sorry, I seriously would rather be doing anything than this. Part of me wants to give up, but I'm committed at this stage. I've got to get this thing done, so just laying back in the chair, letting it happen, and slowly feeling my throat get more sore the more I talk. So I'm probably doing slight damage to myself to make this video. More damage than usual, so hey, if you appreciate it, click like. And I guess comment. And other things. If you feel like it. No pressure. Thanks for watching, though. Let's keep going.
Evolution begets intelligence via evolutionary neuronal selection. Human intelligence begets artificial intelligence using evolutionary computation methods.
You know, I just thought about something. Us creating AI is kind of funny because, okay, so we're trying to create human-like intelligence. We're trying to build something to look like us. Seems funny to something that we may have done several thousands of years ago. Perhaps created stories, created the gods to look like us, to be like us. It's funny how that works. Almost makes you think. Makes people like us think. People like Hovind, not so much. They just see it the other way around. Oh, well, the God made the man like us. Yeah, but the God made the man out of the dirt. So, you know, I mean, it's made out of dirt. But that's good for the God to take the dirt and give the hair and do that out of Hovind.
Which at increasing cycle speeds leads to a technological singularity. A further big step up the evolutionary ladder. Sadly.
See, this is just Kent taking some pop science article and just rolling with it. This doesn't even have anything. This isn't even about Turing. This is just about him and I guess rebelling against AI. Really want to see where this is going.
Being considerably ahead of his time and living in an environment that castigated his lifestyle, homosexual, and drove him from his research, Turing did not live to see the full extent of his work's influence. While he did not survive to an age in which AI became prevalent, he did fulfill his ambition by taking part in the defeat of augmentation from design. His goal, get rid of the idea that there has to be a designer.
Well, I mean, at a point he might have come up with that as a goal. Because it might have realized the idea is so ridiculous as to be outright absurd and worth ridicule, while you sit there with that smug look on your face like you've somehow proved a point. Your whole idea is bullshit.
That's where we're going to whack him tonight, Alan.
And we're like, how far into this thing? 15 minutes in, it's like, oh, we're gonna whack them. Haven't you already started? This is 15 fucking minutes. Get to the point, man. Fuck.
The insight he displayed in his groundbreaking research clearly placed Turing on an equal footing with the most celebrated scientist of the previous century. Alan Turing, born 1912, he displayed an early and extracurricular interest in science, particularly influenced by a book called Natural Wonders Every Child Should Know. He read a book as a child that influenced him. Huh.
Here. Hovind read a book as a child that influenced him. He started believing that there was a magic sky daddy who made people out of dust and made plants before there was a sun and likes certain kinds of people and only certain kinds of things. He supports incest but doesn't like anyone loving anyone that they're not supposed to love. Huh.
How many books do kids read today on dinosaurs? What's the first sentence in the book going to say when you open it up? Millions of years ago. How many kids are being influenced by that? I'm going to show several passages from this book, which is still available. Natural Wonders.
This just in, Kent Hovind is mad because children are told facts. Film at 11.
Every child should know. Here's Alan Turing at 15, going to school.
Pointless
Here's
picture.
Natural Wonders Every Child Should Know by Edwin Tenney Brewster. What little boys and girls are made of. What are little boys made of? What are little boys made of? Snaps and snails and puppy dog tails. That's what little boys are made of. What little girls made of? What are little girls made of? Sugar and spice and all that's nice. That's what little girls are made of. How many have heard that poem before years ago? Okay. So says the old nursery rhyme. It has this much truth in it. The little boys and little girls are far from being alike. And it isn't worthwhile to try to make either one over into the other. Why don't you tell that to these woke people out there now? Okay.
And here we have even more of Kent's bigotry that I'm just not going to get into. It is a complicated subject. I have complicated opinions on the matter. Suffice to say, I certainly don't agree with Kent. We're going to leave it at that. Fuck you, Kent. We understand people better this day and age. And I'm glad we do.
Whatever that means. What little boys and girls are really made of, and all other living things as well, is a much longer story. But these are all quotes directly from this book, okay? Up to page.
These are all quotes directly from this book, okay? There's a book that was written like 100 years ago. Here's are quotes from this book, because I'm Kent Hovind, and I love 100-year-old books. Hovind. 100-year-old books are new reading to me. That's good stuff right there. You know, it doesn't beat this 2,000-year-old book that, you know, talks about bullshit. But there's this 100-year-old book, that's okay too, Hovind.
334. The first part of the book is all interesting science stuff about animals. But then it gets into all the evolution stuff at the end.
Once again, the thing where Kent is like, oh, this is good, up until it gets to this part that I vehemently disagree with. I've said it 1,000 times, I'll say it again. It's funny that everything can be accurate on one point, but then in one facet, but the same methodologies when applied to anything he disagrees with, it suddenly falls flat. Just double standard, man.
Let's see. Salamanders live on land. He doesn't need gills and doesn't have them. But the little salamander, while he's still in the egg, has gills like any salamander. Although, for all the use he can ever put to them, he might as well have been furnished a pair of skates.
Can we also point out that Kent reads like a child reading a book? He seems to have difficulty actually parsing sentences. Which is funny because he picks these slides to put, or picks these, you know, screenshots, these images to put in his slides. So you think he would have practiced them, but once again, Hovind do anything right. It's just a lot of this little stuff adds up to show you he really doesn't have the skills he tries to portray that he does. You know, it's subtle, but if you look for it, it's there. And I know we all we all pick up on it. I guarantee everyone watching these videos, everyone who's in the, hate watching of Kent and following people ridiculing him, picks up on this stuff even if you don't realize you're picking up on it. That it's something subliminal that we get and notice. If we may not be able to put our finger on it, we still notice it instantly.
Do salamanders have gills in the egg? No. But this book written that influenced this young Turing guy, back then they taught a lot of things that have now been proven wrong.
Yeah, because science works to improve our knowledge and understanding. It's self-correcting. Unlike your Bronze Age book that isn't correct about shit. What you gonna say, Kent?
But he read these things like the idea of the gill slits on the embryos. We covered that on video number 4. No, they don't have gill slits, okay? But this is one of the lies that influenced.
Didn't you and AJ have a debate on that? Didn't he explain it in explicit detail? And didn't you still just hand wave away stuff? Didn't he agree with you that we shouldn't call them gill slits and that we should use the phrase pharyngeal arches? And you still just run with this? Which reminds me, did you ever find that evidence for Haeckel's trial? No? Didn't think so.
Turing to reject God and believe in evolution. The eggs do not contain gills. Let's see. Gills develop in salamander larvae after hatching from eggs, not within the eggs themselves. And their gills are external. They can breathe underwater, a little frilly. Okay. We humans are just as bad as the. You come down with appendicitis, has to be taken to the hospital, have his vermiform appendix taken out.
Once again, not me. That's what happened in the stream. Someone must have been downloading gigabytes of that there furry porn somewhere in cabin 23 at DAL. So I can't think of any other explanation, aside from the fact they live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
They used to teach, and when this book was written, they taught the appendix, you don't need it anymore. It's vestigial. The appendix isn't the slightest use to anybody. We're better off.
That isn't what vestigial means, and you've been told what it actually means. You're once again lying, Kent.
Without it. But in cows and dogs and rabbits and kangaroos and various other animals, especially those that eat grass and leaves, it's a good deal to help them digest food. So the textbook says the appendix is vestigial. This is a lie, and my video number 4, lies in the textbooks. You get the whole series, $50. Creation seminar series.
Kent, R and Ra completely tore apart every single bit of lies in the textbooks. And I mean every single bit. There is no value there. Everything has been demonstrated to be a lie. In one facet or another. Ya done, son.
Anatomy and development. Vestigial structures. This is always one of the evidences they use for evolution. And this is what turned Alan Turing, as a boy, into an atheist. Something that had been proven wrong. There are no vestigial structures. If there were, that's the opposite of evolution. That's losing something, not gaining something.
It's not what evolution is. You're once again wrong.
Difficult to understand vestigial structures, such as anything other than evolutionary relics. You need your appendix. It's useful, okay? This is baloney they got here. 1925, they listed 180 vestigial structures in the human body. What's the function of the appendix in a human before it's taken out through surgery? The appendix has no known physiological function. This is somebody answering a 15-year-old student. This person ought to be fired. University of Chicago. Your appendix is part of your immune system. You're clueless. You don't know what you're talking about. It's believed the appendix will gradually disappear in humans as our diet do not include cellulose no more. I bet they got a degree in something, didn't they? Okay. We can obviously live without it. That's not proof it's a vestigial. You can live without your arms and legs, too. Does that prove you don't need them? Okay. Human appendix.
You can live without Hovind. Does it mean you don't need them? Well, actually, yeah, it does. So, but I just felt like saying that. I thought that would be funny. Because we can all live without Hovind. But would it be as funny of a life? I don't know. You tell me in the comments, do you think your life would be better had you never discovered Kent Hovind? Or if you were never aware of him? I feel like it would, honestly. That's just me. Let me know what you think.
Has been proposed to be a vestigial structure. that has lost all or most of its function, or that has evolved to take on a new function. Suggestion was that it was shrunken remnant of the cecum thought to have been present in remote ancestors. This is baloney. Here you go. Your appendix. Once upon a time, it used to store inedible things, fruit peelings, and even rocks. Long regarded as vestigial, the appendix is now thought to be one of the sites where immune responses are initiated. 25 years ago, they figured it out. We need it. Now they finally figured it out. But this book influenced Alan Turing to reject God, one of the lies about the appendix being vestigial. Its removal increases your susceptibility to a bunch of diseases. Why do we have an appendix? The entire digestive tract helps our immune system. Some scientists and doctors think the appendix may be the place for our body to store certain types of healthy.
God, this man spends 20, 30 minutes just rambling on about the same shit over and over.
Gut bacteria. Huh. Now they know.
Yeah, we get it, Kent. Thought it was completely useless. Figured out what usages it had. You know what? It's still not what its original role likely was. Makes it vestigial for that role. It's not a hard concept. You have to make everything complicated. Which is ironic because you claim you make things simple for people. No. You make simple concepts complicated for simple people. And you make complicated concepts even more complicated, but you mask it all by saying really simple stuff for simple people. So they'll think your simple stuff is what makes sense because they can wrap their head around it. Because everyone thinks they're smart, especially stupid people.
For years, the appendix was credited with very little use. Now we know it's important.
We
Read
get
the article
it.
for yourself, okay? What's that, 99, okay? The appendix. During early years, the appendix has been shown to function as a lymphoid organ, okay?
We
Part
get
of your
it.
immune system. Read the article for yourself.
Regardless of the usefulness of the human appendix, that doesn't change the myriad of vestigial organs in all kinds of creatures out there, or the very concept of it as it's actually defined, as opposed to the lie that you give as a definition. So you're not making the point you think you're making, Kent.
When you get time. Just hit pause on my video here. So yes, you need the appendix. The appendix is not a vestigial organ that's evidence for evolution. But this lie this guy taught is one of the things influenced Alan Turing.
How hard is it to say Turing, Kent? You've said that like every time. Alan Turing, Alan Turing. 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 Alan Turing. Alan Turing. Alan Turing. Alan Turing. Alan Turing. How hard is it to say? You bumbling fuckwit. God damn. And people take this guy seriously. You know, I'm exaggerating myself for comedic effect here. Kent's just a rambling idiot. And I get that he's 70 years old. But he acts like he's better than that. And he is, you know, relatively sharp for a 70-year-old. But fuck, man. This isn't hard.
Reject God. Here's back to the book.
I guess it just kills me when people don't accept their weaknesses. You know, I flub up stuff a lot. I think faster than I can speak, so all the thoughts get jammed up. I come up with the wrong words. I might pronounce some things a little funny. You know, I'm extremely self-aware. I don't think Kent is. I don't think he realizes the stuff he does, the stupidity of some of the things he does and says. And even if he was aware of it, he wouldn't acknowledge it as a weakness. And that's just not cool with me. No one's perfect. And as you acknowledge those human frailties, those human weaknesses, that makes you more relatable. From my experience, that's how I am with people. When I see people start up a stream and they're like, hey, sorry about such and such, I've been sick, da-da-da-da-da, I feel for them. I feel like, oh, yeah, you know, you're like me. As opposed to the super professional, hyper-polished look you get from the typical internet celebrity or proper celebrities. You know, you act like you're perfect, Kent, and you're not. It's this little stuff where it's just like, dude, you said this, you did that. I wouldn't hold you to this high a standard if it wasn't for the fact you had an ego the size of Mount fucking Everest.
We have said we have no fewer than 180 useless things about us. All sorts of little things that are of no use to us at all, and no use to half the animals that have them. but they're useful to the other half. It talks about the different animals. This is all
We get it. Move on.
about vestigial structures in this part of the book. That's the way things are managed. Salt blood, gill slits, tails, gills in the egg, not out. Extra lungs for snakes, extra eyes for all of us. This is the propaganda that influenced Alan to become an atheist. I'm going to show you where I'm going with this in a minute. How about
Oh, you actually are going somewhere with this? Amazing. Amazing.
the horse's fingers? A horse has one hoof, cows have two. Oh, you got 5 fingers with fingernails on them. Well, one coming off of me. Okay. I'll have 4 for a while. They said it'll feel better when it quits hurting. I believe that. Okay.
Ha ha ha. Very funny, Kent.
Nevertheless, the horse hasn't quite lost the rest of his hand because along the side of his middle finger palm bone, which we call the shin, lie 2 other little bones, too small to be of any use. You better study your horse anatomy a little more here. Natural one. No. Notice the foreleg of a cow. He goes through a whole section on how cows have vestigial bones, horses have vestigial. No, they don't. All of them are necessary. According to the Just So stories, in high and far away times, before any elephant ever had a trunk, there was a certain elephant's child who was afflicted with an insatiable curiosity. And after this elephant's child had been spanked for some time,
Kent, is this about Alan Turing? Or is this about some damn book from a century ago? Get to the point, you dinosaur. Fuck.
the same time, has been spanked for this same insatiable curiosity by his tall aunt, the ostrich. How many think the ant ostrich is the aunt of the, or in England, the aunt of the elephant?
Oh my god, stop with this stupid polling the audience. No one gives a shit. That isn't how a live stream is supposed to work, Kent. And I get it. I know he's got his cult, in there with him. They have to attend this stuff. It's for a live audience, so they gotta hear him ramble on about bullshit. But, god damn it, Kent. It just doesn't work. People don't do that anymore. Damn. See, it's like grade school. It's like children's teaching skills there. So when they say, he taught high school science and math for 15 years, it's like, did you though? Did you even teach people of a high school age? Because that kind of behavior, that kind of interaction is what you do with grade school children. Not full-grown adults. Or definitely not full-grown adults, but definitely not teenagers. Teenagers will look at that stuff as condescending, pandering. They already don't give a fuck about what you have to say. They'd really hate you at that point. I'm gonna hear it. It's like, no one gives a fuck. They're fucking teenagers. They're basically adults. Talk to them like fucking adults. That's what your cult in there is. Adults. Talk to them like they're fucking adults. God damn, Kent. Yeah, you probably got some kids in there. I pity the kids. Usually if you got some weird church group or something, you make sure to shout them out. But it's like, dude, that's not how you present things in this day and age. To other adults. To teenagers. To anyone that's remotely considered close to mature.
And by his tall uncle, the giraffe, and by his broad aunt, the hippopotamus. I saw her at Walmart the other day. And by his hairy uncle, the baboon.
Ha ha ha, fat joke.
Grievously and frequently, without stopping for a long time, he started off for the banks of the great gray, green, greasy Limpo River to see what the crocodile has for dinner. And the crocodile caught the elephant's child by the nose, which was just a common nose and not a trunk at all, and pulled and pulled and pulled, being minded to have elephant's child for the beginning of his dinner. And the elephant's child spread out his 4 little legs and pulled and pulled and pulled until between them they stretched out the elephant's child's nose into the first elephant's trunk that ever was. So all other elephants have had such trunks ever since. Is that how the elephant got his trunk?
It's a children's story, Kent. It's just a children's story. Holy fuck, you're reading way too deep into this. God damn.
This is Mr. Kipling's story, how the elephant got his trunk. This and several more like it of the just so stories you must read for yourselves. For altogether, they're about as good stories as been written by anybody this long time. Besides, something not so very different from this adventure of the elephant's child did really happen. Only it didn't happen in quite the same way. Can you imagine young Alan Turing reading this book, thinking, wow, the elephant got his trunk by evolution, long, slow, gradual processes. Instead of there being one.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Yet again, all evidence points that way. And what you do is constantly lie, constantly make shit up, constantly cherry pick the most outrageous crap you think you can find to try to make it seem like Magical Sky Daddy did everything. It's not how the universe works, Kent. It's just not.
One elephant's child, there are many, 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 one after another for hundreds of years, each with a nose a little more stretched out and a little more trunk-like than those which came before it. So what really happened is something like this. The elephant that you feed peanuts to at the circus nowadays is a strange sort of beast.
This is absolutely insufferable. I hope if you're still watching, you're enjoying this, because this is insufferable for me right now. I know I always crack the joke I'd rather be playing Guild Wars, but I'd really rather be playing Guild Wars.
With his long trunk, his hairless body, tall legs like the stems of trees, and no front part of his jaws, only the back part has teeth. The parents of the elephants you see were elephants like himself. So were his grandparents, and their grandparents in turn. But if you could go back a very long time, back to the days of when the first men appeared in Europe, you would find that the elephants of those days had somewhat more like four-footed animals. They had fur over their bodies, over their fur like other animals. This whole thing is propaganda, how the elephant evolved, how the horse evolved. Young Alan is reading this book, and this is the book that they said influenced him greatly. In the United States, in Europe, and in various other parts of the world, their bodies have been found frozen in the ice. The dogs ate their flesh. There are none left alive now, but we still have pictures of them, which men long ago scratched on pieces of bone.
Is this Storybook Hour with Kent Hovind? Get to the fucking point, man.
I agree. The mammoth and the mastodon. Still older elephant-like creatures. Let's see. We still find their bones in the ground. They had front teeth, very long muzzles, even longer than the sharpest nosed dog, or as long, let us just say, as the bill of a duck. So it's true. Let's see. Creatures lost the front part of their jaws and their front teeth and their under lips. They kept two upper front teeth, which grew very large and became tusks. So the teeth turned into tusks, huh? The enamel-covered teeth turned into ivory tusks.
I'm sure this is all explained in detail in various proper scientific textbooks and journals that you do not expose yourself to, because you can't cherry pick and rip them apart based on your outright lies to try to make them look ridiculous. This is a children's book explaining these concepts in very simple fashion for little ones. And you're just like, oh, so the teeth became the average. You know, it's probably explained somewhere in the literature. Why don't you go look at that, Kent? Then get back to somebody. Okay? How about you fucking go do some actual research? You dumb piece of shit. Fuck, you insufferable asshole. I regret doing this video, but I'm too far in, damn it. Let's go.
Okay. It's the same way with any other animal that is different from the rest.
Most of the way there. We can do this.
His great-grandfather's great-grandfather's great-grandfather, many times removed, wasn't nearly so different from other animals as he was. Take, for instance, the horse. And he goes on and talks about it there. Okay, page 350. Snakes used to have legs. In fact, a snake is not much more than a lizard that left off his legs for the sake of crawling into smaller holes. How many of you can drop off your arms and legs so you can squeeze into a smaller hole? And then that affects your children, too. See, if you lose your arms, your children won't have any either. You think that's true? No.
That's not what's being said, Kent. That's not what's being said. Fuck.
Snakes and lizards are much older than the beasts. Keep going here. They had teeth like a crocodile. They had wings like a proper bird. They had claws on their wings, which were really three-fingered hands with feathers growing on them. This is the Archaeopteryx type argument. You atheists are still using all these stupid arguments today. You don't have anything else, do you?
Oh, you mean we don't have, the actual verified, obvious evidence around us that we, have studied over decades and centuries that you just reject outright? All you have is some musty old book that says a thing? Yeah, I'll take the scientific evidence. Thank you. You can take your lines on paper and cram them, Kent. And wipe your ass with them. That's how valuable they are.
That's why I'm willing to debate all of them at the same time.
Yep, because debating Kent Hovind is how reality is actually determined. The people doing all this science have far more important things to do than to argue with your idiotic ass. Stop playing internet tough guy. You're pathetic, Kent.
It's exactly the same with our own ancestors, like the reptiles, bird or reptile. Let's see. Those men were true and proper human beings. They walked on their hind legs and I suppose talked. But they were not quite such men as we are, for their skulls were a little flatter on top, the bony ridges over their eyes were a little heavier, and their teeth a little larger. Because of their diet. We talked about that the other night. Let's see.
We're talking about that the other night, so go watch my older video, because, you have nothing better to do than to go watch all my old Kent Hovind videos. Hovind, you could watch my back catalog, but they're all on a channel that got deleted for YouTube, because, I didn't play YouTube's game right. Hovind, it's all a conspiracy to put down Kent Hovind. The government's after Kent Hovind, and they're coming to get me, Hovind.
These are found all over Europe, vast number of stone tools and weapons, cruder as they are older. See, this is the argument they use. If you find an arrowhead that's not properly shaped, they assume the guy wasn't quite as advanced. It's crude. I got another idea. Maybe he was in a hurry because the prey was getting away and he quick chopped it up and maybe he's in a hurry to make it. The one sitting around for a couple of days with nothing to hunt probably had time to sharpen him and tweak him a little bit. Got nothing to do with the age of it being less intelligent.
Once again, that's not exactly how this stuff is determined. You're extrapolating that from an extremely simplified storytelling in a children's book. Fuck's sake. This man would argue with 3 blind mice.
Wish you guys could learn to think, okay? It's always been various sorts in the world. If we could go back a sufficient number of 1,000 years, we should come to a time when instead of 20 sorts of cats, there were only 10. Back of that, there was still more ancient time when there were only 5. Long time before that early day, there was only the father of cats. Though he looked like...
Ooh, you can't pronounce the big word patriophilus. Which, the fact that it says the father of cats should tell you exactly how to pronounce that, considering, father, patriarch, patrio, patra, that thing, felis, cat, feline, etc. Patriophilus. Remember, this is someone who taught high school math and science for 15 years and can't, even be bothered to pronounce the word patriophilus. Hovind, can't pronounce basic word. Just wants to scoff at things. Hovind a scoffer. Bible says they're scoffers. Hovind's a scoffer. Hovind scoff.
like a seal. Imagine Alan, a young boy, reading this book. He almost got to the truth, though.
We get it, Kent. Holy fuck. We get what your point is. Move the fuck on.
I think it probably goes back to 2 cats that got off of Noah's Ark. So too, there must have been a father of dogs whose descendants have changed. Some into proper dogs, some into wolves, some into foxes, jackals, coyotes, dingoes, a phoenix. That's the phoenix fox, okay? 40 odd sorts of wild dogs. I would agree. I bet they had a common ancestor called a dog. Got off of Noah's Ark. Once, too, there was only one kind of man. Probably lived somewhere in southern Asia. He spread out from there till he possessed the whole earth. I can help you out, Alan. There was one group of people got off of Noah's Ark, probably in Turkey, and yep, you're right, they spread out. Some of him went southeast.
Joke's on Hovind. Homo sapiens originated in Africa. We're all African in the end. Hovind.
Into the Pacific Islands and changed into the Malaysian people, and the Australians. Australian. Some of them went southwest.
I hope everyone else just facepalmed at that, because I sure did.
Into Africa and became Negroes. Some became Persians, Ethiopians, Hindus, Arabs. Those that went on further and entered Europe turned various shades of white and became us. For very few white men are really white. Only certain Swedes, Norwegians, and Danes. The rest of us who call ourselves white are merely not quite so black. I see.
Yeah, that right there is an obvious example of the still racially bigoted constructs they had on human ethnicities back in the era. That we, thankfully, those of us who actually bother to pay attention to anything relevant in the way of scientific learning, have realized are complete and utter bullshit. As I mentioned, big fan of the out of Africa hypothesis. As far as I'm concerned, that's what happened. Um, that's all she wrote, baby. We're all Africans somewhere down the line, and I love that fact. I just love that idea.
That's the way it is with all kinds of animals and plants. Each one starts off somewhere and spreads out in all directions as far as it can, gradually changing as it goes. Here's Alan reading this book thinking, wow.
Now, to be fair to the book, the broad description that they're giving right there is applicable. I can jive with that. But here's Hovind continuing to be like, see, he read this book and it got his mind poisoned with things. Unable to see that reading another book will poison your mind for completely unrelated crap that is demonstrably not true.
He's believing this stuff. He became a strong believer in evolution. He was a genius man, and thank God for the computer. I'm using one now. But his motive was to prove there's no designer. So he designed machines all his life to prove there's no designer.
That's not what Turing was doing. That wasn't the focus of his life's work. You're just trying to make him out to be someone evil because it fits your pathetic narrative. Get to your fucking point, Kent.
And instead of one kind of cat or dog, there are a score. We got a bunch of cats and dogs. You can have some of ours, okay? Let's see. Plants are better than the earlier ones, and there are a great many more of them, what we call evolution. That's why it all happens, or what it is, just precisely one of those things that no fella can figure out. Still, one can't help thinking that if men can make as many things as we do out of iron, knives, saws, locomotives, bridges, skyscrapers, battleships, all sorts of machinery, and make them better and wonderful machinery, we can make them better and better all the while. Some wiser being than ourselves might make other and more wonderful machines out of life jelly.
I'd like to once again remind you this is supposed to be a professional teacher trying to read this stuff, and he's having difficulty. Now, I could give him that maybe it's too small for him to read, and he's having a problem focusing on the words. It might have become tricky for him to be able to read it on a screen, but there's ways around that. I mean, he just narrates like a child would,
which we call protoplasm. The protoplasm can evolve. This is what they taught. Okay, here we go. Turing, influenced by this book, Natural Wonders Every Child Should Know. There he is at age 15. This is the book. Edwin Tenney Brewster used a bunch of...
Are you going to challenge Edwin Tenney Brewster for a debate, Kent? Are you going to try to debate him? Because, I'm sure he's dead. Book's like a century old. Pretty sure the dude is, well over a century old. Probably died when you were young, Kent.
Now known to be lies. He might have really believed it, but it wasn't true. And he certainly knew it didn't match with the Bible. There's his tombstone. Died at age 93.
Oh, yeah, see, there we go. I was right. 1866 to 1960. Died when Kent Hovind was a fucking kid. You gonna try to challenge him to a debate? You gonna go to his gravestone? Try to debate him? Hey, Edwin Tenney Brewster, you wrote this children's book? I want to debate you on it, Hovind. I'm going to debate you on a children's book. Debating the dead. Get my Ouija board. It's a Christian Ouija board. It's a Jesus board. Hovind, talk to Jesus.
In England in 1960. Graduated from Harvard in 1891, where they taught evolution. Okay?
Kent, is this supposed to be about Alan Turing, or are you now going into a diatribe about a guy who wrote a book that Turing happened to have read when he was a child? What is the point, man?
A student of zoology, graduate school. Teacher of sciences, Brewster Free Academy. Child's Guide to Living Things is a book that he authored. Another book that he authored. Edwin Tenney Brewster's book is filled with lies to support the religion of evolution. He successfully converted this young boy, Alan Turing, to atheism.
Translation: this guy wrote a book for children that happened to explain the wonders of the scientific world as we were in this era of just an explosion of better understanding on how the universe works, especially with regards to biology and physiology. Turing happened to have read it, and it got him curious about the actual facts of the world, as opposed to mythical fairy tales that, the more you look into them, the more bullshit they are.
Satan has spent the last 6,000 years using lies to convert people into believing, ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. That's what he said to Eve.
The serpent was not Satan. Satan is a strictly Christian concept, and even if you were to apply the logic, in a weird twist, the Satan character would be the only one who actually told the truth in most of those stories. If not all cases, I think. Again, I don't like fiction, works of fiction. It's very, very boring reads. I prefer myself some good old nonfiction, some factual, real science books. But from my understanding, yeah. But again, it doesn't even matter because the Satan character was not the serpent in the garden. The serpent in the garden was an actual snake. Just a talking snake and nothing more.
Eve, you get to have more knowledge like God. That's the purpose of AI, by the way. Judgment Day, we'll see the whole story as the truth comes out.
Oh, is that what all this was going for? Uh-oh, knowledge bad? But Kent, you pride yourself on being smart. So first off, you're not supposed to have pride, and second off, you think you're so smart, so you having all the knowledge you claim to have makes you evil. Bit of a self-own there, don't you think?
Today, thousands of parents and teachers are teaching children or students that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Get the book, it's on my library here somewhere. I can read about dinosaurs millions of years ago. First sentence in the book. Another author teaching lies that'll influence children for life and maybe for eternity. First page, let's see.
Prove it, buddy. Fucking prove it. Or are you just making shit up and saying that people teaching actual facts are bad because, again, it doesn't correspond to your fairy tales that you believe in?
Millions of years ago. How many children in your state are being taught this?
Hopefully all of them.
Taught this as a child. Millions of years ago. Millions of years ago. Dr. Seuss. Not hundreds of years, not thousands of years, millions of years, long before you were born. There are thousands of books about dinosaurs available on the internet, coloring books, all kinds of books.
Have we reached peak conspiracy theory yet? Or can we go a little further? I'm waiting for the New World Order to get brought up. Put $5 on New World Order. Come on, give me New World Order.
30 dynamic dinosaur books for kids, 40 dazzling dinosaur books for kids. I got sick and tired of Satan using God's own creatures to turn people away from God. I said, I think God ought to get the glory. The dinosaurs.
I don't give a fuck about your character backstory, Kent. You and your fan fiction mean nothing. Get to your point.
Are amazing. Not evolution getting the glory. Satan's using these critters to turn kids away from God. Time to do something about it. God made the world in 6 literal 24-hour days about 6,000 years ago. God made the world. He owns it. He makes the rules. We're all guilty of.
YouTube made the Google makes the YouTubes. They own it. They get to make the rules. But you don't like the rules, Hovind. That's why you broadcast on the other evil platforms, evil Satanist platforms, because you just want to commit sins against the Google, Hovind. Dude, just don't even realize the levels of bullshit inside of the stuff he says inside of these concepts. It's kind of amazing.
Breaking his rules. He'll pardon you if you accept his payment for your sins. That's the blood of Jesus Christ. Maybe you could start a creation ministry in your town. I wish thousands of people would start these. Many people come here, look at this, say, man, we need one of these in my city.
I'm starting now the creation ministry of these nail clippers. Sorry I bashed the microphone with them, but you can hear them. They're real. They created the universe in 6 seconds back in 1972 and implanted all the previous history. So on January 4th, 1972 is when the universe began, complete with full backstory. And it's all because of those clippers right there. Look in your drawers somewhere. You too may have clippers of your own. If so, you have been chosen by the Clipper as a prophet of the Clipper religion. Share the word that the world was made January 3rd, 1972. And that all the Clipper wants in return is that you clean under your fingernails. Because it's really gross when you don't. Congratulations, everyone. You just got a new religion.
Well, build one. Come take a look at mine, take pictures. If you don't like something I'm doing, don't do it, but figure out something. You parents and teachers that are still teaching your children or students that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago will obviously destroy their faith in the Bible, like Alan's got destroyed. I would highly recommend you carefully read what Jesus said.
Good. Keep doing it. Keep teaching your kids actual facts. And destroy every shred of faith they have. And then maybe we won't have to deal with this absolute bullshit anymore. Finally, we'll be able to actually go through life with sensible legislation. It'd be a dream. Can hope, anyway.
About people that do that. Let's see. Jesus said, "Whoso shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me,
Don't care.
it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were drowned in the depth of the sea."
Drowning people. That's real Christian, Hovind. Jesus likes to drown people. Just drown them. It's good. Just evil.
James said, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing we shall receive the greater condemnation." Turing believed the human brain was a result of billions of years of evolution and random mutations over billions of years. So why can't man build a machine to do what the brain does? A perfect and beautiful machine. What Darwin's theory of evolution reveals about artificial intelligence. Charles Darwin and Alan Turing, in their different ways, both homed in on the same idea, the existence of competence without comprehension. Daniel Dennett. Have you seen what computers can do now in AI? They have them playing soccer. They asked the robot, "You're going to rebel against humans?" "Oh, no, not yet."
That was one of the clips he showed at the beginning that you could barely hear anyway because of the way he does his audio and stuff. I mean, was this your entire point, Kent? Was this what you were getting at? Basically that, they're lying to the kids. Was that what this whole thing was? Your same old shtick? You guys ripping into a century-old book as a way of, put that as the guise of Alan Turing's the one responsible, you know. What the fuck, Kent? Nowhere in this incoherent mass have you made any semblance of an actual point.
At the end of the book of Revelation, Revelation 13, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, I don't know, and I'm not saying this is, but it sure looks to me like we're headed that way with this AI. Maybe this is it.
Yes, of course it looks that way to you, because your carefully written fairy tale says that everything that will inevitably happen is somehow be evil, somehow the end, gulp. Because, you know, you're the one who can find out when it is. Like, there's a website you can put in your date of birth, and it'll give you how many apocalypse predictions you've survived. And I think I'm up to like 130, 140 now. So we're at like multiples every year, easy. It's ridiculous. But Kent Hovind knows when stuff's gonna end, you know, because Jesus. The fuck does it even matter? Why do you care? It's supposed to be happy magic party time for you anyway. None of the story doesn't even make sense. It's not even self-contained in its own self-contained way. It doesn't even, you know, work. It isn't even self-congruent, and just not a good story either way.
Notable atheist who changed the world, Alan Turing.
See, he's just cycled back in his slides because this is one he had at the beginning. We just skipped just past that. But it's like, what's your point, Kent?
Atheists speak out on the joy and meaning of the world without God. They find joy, meaning, and purpose in their lives without religion. For now.
Ooh, empty threat. Ooh. Once again, if Magic Sky Daddy gives such a damn about us, Magic Sky Daddy knows exactly what will convince us. Magic Sky Daddy should expose us to that. Magic Sky Daddy does not expose us to whatever would invariably convince us. Ergo, it is safe to presume that Magic Sky Daddy doesn't exist. That's simple.
We shall see when it's all over. Anyway, somebody wrote a children's book that influenced a man to turn away from God.
And that's the entire thing you were getting at. That was the point. It wasn't about Alan Turing. It was about some old book written for kids. We just spent this entire time basically watching a 70-some-year-old man very broadly rip into a book that is about, or that is for children from over a century ago. Why do we subject ourselves to this? You know what? Doesn't matter. We're about done. I'm going to let this finish up, but I think we're finally done here.
Boy, to turn away from God. Why don't some of you write books? Turn people to the Lord. Some of you sit around doing nothing all day, playing video games and watching TV. I've written 67 books. I'm not an author.
You've probably written like 2 or 3 tops. 67 books, my ass. Show them. Give us a cited list of all of the books and ways we can verify their publication dates and all the relevant meta information. Otherwise, I don't believe you, Kent. Also, again, I don't like fiction. I prefer nonfiction, factual books on real stuff. Although I am a bit of a fiction author myself and intend on writing a few stories, I'm still polishing them up because I want these to be really, really good. That, and I'm also lazy, so I tend to plan more than I do actually write. But hey, getting around to it. Do you know what? That's it. I'm done dealing with Kent. I'm tired of listening to his voice, looking at his face. I'm just done for now. I'm glad we finally made it through this video, albeit we had to skip the beginning. But trust me, you're not missing anything. My throat is sore. I am tired. It's hot in the room. I'm going to turn the AC back on. Turn the fan up to full blast. Maybe lay down. Maybe game a bit. I don't know. Anything better than dealing with this fucking idiot and his delusions of whatever the hell they are. If you made it this far, thanks a ton for watching. I appreciate you. Give the video a like. Leave some comments. That's that. Take it easy, everyone.